Well, 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 if it isn't you again and me. Welcome to the Soul Original Podcast, the SOP. I'm sorry for my awkwardness, guys. You just got to embrace it, just like I do. Also, I never know how to start the conversations with my guests. It's the most awkward thing in the beginning, if you've noticed. I start off so awkward. I get more comfortable as I go, I think. But man, I'm sorry. It's brutal. I'm brutal. Okay, I'm an introvert, if you can't tell. Anyways, today's guest, guys, I got to tell you, I got a good one. I got a good one coming at you. All right. I met this guy first time I saw him. He was at this networking event. I saw him from across the room. You can't miss him because he was wearing a Robin Hood hat. All right. Feather and all. It was awesome. And what a genius tactic. Like, the whole point of going to networking events is to connect with as many people as possible, right? And if you want to do that, just wear a crazy hat. Like, he gets it. So that's how we met. That's how a lot of people probably met him by now. But yeah, the reason he wears the Robin Hood hat is because of his company, BowCraft Archery, which he founded. And he goes to schools. He teaches kids how to, construct a bow and how to shoot it, bow and arrow. It's pretty awesome. He's talented. He's been doing it for a long time. He has a background in the Air Force. I think he was out in Germany for quite a while. And now he's got bigger and better things. He's also the co-founder of No-Wildfire, which is something recent, and you'll hear him talk more about that. And this guy's someone to watch. All right, you want to keep an eye on David Webb because he's going places. All right. But yeah, he's an awesome guy, and I won't spoil anything more. Let's just get to the interview. How about that? So thank you guys for listening. Please leave me some feedback on what I can do better. I'm always trying to fix things, change things, make this as valuable as possible for you. So yeah, on to the episode. Enjoy this conversation with David Webb. Welcome to another episode of the podcast, and welcome David Webb to the Soul Original Podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah. We met, I think, probably a couple of years ago, right? Probably somewhere in Roseville, yeah. I'm guessing.
Probably September. September is when I really started networking. Mm-hmm. I moved here from Germany back in May, but then I didn't start my company until about June. I didn't start networking until around August or September. Of last year. That's
right. And I mean, much like a lot of other people that have met you for the first time, the first thing I saw was the hat. I don't know if it was this hat. You have a few different Robin Hood type hats, right?
Yeah, I got a couple variations. This is the final form of the hat. So this is variation number 4. So the first one was rough, but it got better over time.
Yeah. So. Well, it's genius. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was at a networking event, probably at one of Vince's. Look over, see the hat. It's a great conversation starter. I mean, did you expect reactions, kind of what you've gotten, from the hat? I mean, it seems like it's been a great conversation starter.
Yeah. So the hat I actually read a book about personal branding and finding ways to stick out in crowds so that people notice you and remember you after the networking event. So
yeah, it immediately generates interest in what you do.
Yeah. So everybody would see the hat, and they would come up and ask me, "Hey, what's going on with the hat? What is that, Peter Pan? Is it Robin Hood?" So, I would stick out of a crowd. I got a nice feather on there. People would see the feather and they would come up and ask me, and then I would do my pitch about my company and then go in from there. And then, pretty much I started going to every networking event that I possibly could. So for about 5 straight months, and I built a personal brand around Robin Hood. So everyone in the metro Sacramento area knows me as Robin Hood.
Sweet. That's a pretty cool reputation, I gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, tell the viewers what that brand is. You know, why were you wearing this hat? What did it represent?
Yeah, so I built a company called KMC Archery, which I started that company in June of 2022. And then I started networking, and then I wasn't getting a lot of like attraction. And then that's when I started reading a book about personal branding. And then that's when the personal brand of Robin Hood came out with the hat. And then I built a brand around the archery company, and I built a sub brand around myself with the Robin Hood hat, people knowing me as Robin Hood. And I started going around just meeting a lot of people in the area and spreading the word about my company, about archery. And I met a lot of good key resources before I found my way into the school system, and also doing programming for cities. So in which from then till about now, which is about 13 months, I am now a vendor with 86 schools, and then I'm with 5 cities right now. So in 13 months of starting.
86 schools, wow. 5
Well,
cities.
moving to the country. So I moved here, started from scratch, built a company. 13 months later, now I've got a pretty big archery empire in the local area that I'm continuing to expand as well.
Sweet. An empire. That's a pretty big deal.
Yep.
So why archery? Like, why not something else? What sparked your interest in archery? And I guess how long? I mean, you lived in Germany, you said, right? You were stationed there, right? Was it out there that you found the passion for it? Like, what sparked your interest?
Yeah, so I'd always been in archery. So I grew up in the Midwest, and I was taught as a young kid like how to hunt out there, how to go archery hunting, which it was fun. You know, you go out and you kill your own game, and you learn how to do all that. So, and then I moved to Europe for the military, and then my German neighbor asked me if I wanted to take a wood bow building class, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. You know, learn how to build your own bow. So I drove to France, and then I built my own bow in a class with, there was about 7 of us in there. Nobody spoke English, and I was the only English speaker, so that was really difficult, learning how to build something in a completely different language you've never done before. So it was really hard, but I ended up building a Native American recurve bow, which is really cool. And I decided to do that bow because I'm part Native American, so I was like bringing it back to my roots.
There you go.
But I built it, and it was awesome. And then essentially I went back and I built 4 more bows with the guy, and I started learning French. And then entrepreneur me, I was like, hey, you know, we could probably start teaching like corporate team building events for military bases throughout Europe. So then we started doing that, and I was the guy that made the connections, got the classes together. And then Michelle, my mentor, he went out and was teaching the classes, and I was his mentee. So I was learning the whole time. And then fast forward 4 years after I've done it a bunch, built 50, 60 bows, taught lots of classes. Then I came here and I started a company doing it by myself.
That's awesome. Yeah. So dive into, I guess, all it is, what you do with the company. You know, so I know you told me about, you know, in the Midwest, you still own some land out there that you make the bows from the trees, right? Isn't that correct?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I was going out and building all my own bows. So I would cut down the trees. I would cut them specifically the designs that they need to be, but that was really taxing. And I started doing a lot of bow building classes out here. So then I stopped doing that, and I actually found a reseller, so somebody else in the Midwest that does that. And I gave him all my blueprints of the bow design. So I teach how to build Native American bows, Viking bows, English long bows, Mongolian recurve bows, like so on and so on, like 13 different types of cultural designs. And then I gave all those blueprints to somebody in the Midwest that does it. Now he makes all my bows. Whenever I need them, I'll send an order to him, and then he'll make them over about a month, and they'll ship them to me. So out here, I teach lots of youth. So 90% of my customers are kids, 10% are adults. And I teach lots of schools in the area the bow building class. So they'll go in, they'll build a wood hickory bow. So a long bow, they'll build 4 arrows. They'll do some leather working. They'll build the string on it too. And then we'll do archery lessons. So that's like the premier package that we have is our wood bow building classes. And it's not offered anywhere in the world what I do. So there are like a few people around the world that do adult bow building classes, but there's nobody that's ever done youth bow building classes.
Right.
So...
Yeah, I remember you telling me that once, that, you know, you don't have really any competition. I mean, what has that been like? Is that why you've grown? I mean, it's been part of the reason that you've grown so quickly, so fastly, or fastly is not a word, but.
So there are local archery ranges here, and they serve a different customer audience than what I do. So they focus on older demographics. And then I focus on the younger demographics, in which has had a lot of success because there's no archery programming, I found out, in any of the cities or any of the schools in the area. And I was really surprised because Sacramento, you know, millions of people, population there, and then all these smaller cities outside too, they don't have archery anywhere. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go out and start networking, you know. And I went out, started talking to principals, started talking to the board members at the schools, and then I made my way around through my brand, Robin Hood. And then principals started talking to other principals, and I started getting contracts with schools. And then lots of social media posts were being posted, and other schools started catching wind, and then one after another. And now we're up to 85. Yeah. So, and then now I'm a vendor for Roseville, doing stuff for the city of Rockland, soon Auburn, soon the city of Sacramento, Grass Valley. So pretty much the Placer County Triangle. I'm going to be doing stuff for Lake Tahoe, also some Native American tribes too. So that's kind of cool. Some of the Native American tribes, they've lost their culture with like bow building because the younger generation, older generation, they're kind of like headbutting is what I found out going and teaching some of these classes. And I'm proud to like be able to go in there and bring that culture back with them. So
that's really cool. Nice. So there's like a kit that you provide the kids, right? Like you have to kind of craft the bows already, you know, for the kids. Like, I guess, how do you do that? Like, it seems like a lot of work.
Yeah. So I have 3 different packages. So I have like a hardcore, like expert, they want to build their bow from a tree, you know, and that takes like 3 or 4 days. That's literally just a log that we cut out. They cut out, they do all the work. I do all the blueprints, not the kids. I don't allow kids to do those hard kits. Yeah. Right. So the kids work on,
that's separate. You ship these kits.
Yeah.
Right?
So the pre-made kits, they get shipped out here. And then other ones, I have lots of logs. We call them staves. So a bow stave, where like if adults want to come out and they want to build like a really hard bow, that's what they want. They want to work, then they can do that. I have a lot of clients that do that are mostly in the tech industry, and they don't really get to work a lot with their hands. So then they want to jump in and do something really difficult because they have all this energy. Yeah. And then for the kids, they have like, it's a half assembled like kit. So half the work's already done. And then the kids, they just finish off the kit. So it takes about 12 hours total, which is a long time, especially with kids, you know, keeping their attention that long. So
definitely. Well, cool. That's awesome to hear your passion for archery. Now, if you could speak to like your passion for entrepreneurship, because you're an entrepreneur, man. Like, we'll talk about some of the other stuff you have in the works in a little bit, but was it when you came back to the US and started networking? Is that where you started getting into business? And I guess, what did you find that's been helpful for you, or did it start before that?
Yeah. So my entrepreneurship journey actually started like 19 whenever I joined the military. So I joined the military to get away from home, start a new life, go out and explore the world. And I was an entrepreneur before that. I mean, I had a lawn mowing business, you know, that I did. That was really fun as a kid. But so once I joined the military, then I bought a house using government grants, because at the time I was trying to get my own place. I didn't want to rent, and I knew buying a property would be a really good idea, but I didn't have any money. I was 19 years old, you know, like probably had a couple $100 in my bank account. So then I was trying to find ways how I can get money, and that's how I found government grants, and I started applying for a bunch of them. Yeah. And I qualified for one. I got $25,000 from a government grant to buy a house in a specific area in a specific neighborhood. And I did that. And I bought the property right outside of a college. So it was pretty awesome. I bought a $50,000 house in the Midwest, which is really cheap. And, it was $75,000. And I put down $25,000 government grants. So then I had that property. And then essentially I moved in the basement, rented out my top 2 rooms, and then I was making a lot of passive income doing that.
Nice.
And then saved
How
up.
many rooms?
So it was 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom property with a basement. So I was in the basement, and I let 2 roommates have the top 2 rooms.
That's unheard of here in California.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
But essentially I did that. After I saved up some money, I bought another property, but this time I renovated it and I flipped it myself. Every day after work, I'd go and work like 5 or 6 hours and renovated it. And then essentially I bought it for $42,000. I raised the value up to $125,000. Wow. At the time I was 20. And then after that, saved up more money. I bought a 4-plex and then found investors. Then I started flipping properties. And then after that, I bought a 8-unit apartment complex. And then I was up to 16 properties at 21 years old. So,
jeez,
yeah.
Dude.
So,
at 21?
And I started with nothing, like nothing at all. Like I didn't have any help from anyone. I went out and I hustled, so.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. And then I left for Europe at 22 or 23. And then that's when I was doing a lot of social media posts. I started a lot of like real estate clubs, and I was teaching a lot of people about all the things I did. And then that went around, got word, and then I started a private equity company with 3 other co-founders where it was a real estate private equity fund where we raised a whole bunch of money, a whole bunch of capital, and then we went and we bought a 165-unit apartment complex in Indianapolis, Indiana through a real estate syndication. So, but then, yeah. So COVID hit, and that kind of screwed us with that company. So I was having good early success, right? So a lot of things were going right, and then COVID hit and just threw a lot of things down the toilet.
Yeah.
So we ended up shutting that company down, and then
did you sell it or?
No, yeah, we just shut it down. We repaid back our investors and then diluted the company. Gotcha. Yeah. So and then after that, I was like, all right, I got to rebound somehow. So then I jumped into something that I've never done before, which is started FedEx routes. So bought 2 box trucks doing FedEx routes in Montana, and that was going good for a while. And then
how'd you get that idea?
Like, well, I have a lot of friends, and one of my friends was telling me about like how well he was doing in the FedEx realm, and I was always curious about I was like, oh, it's something new, different from real estate. I was kind of burned out from it because I had done so much. And then after that, I was like, all right, I'm going to try it out. So I went and I got 2 FedEx box trucks, and I was leasing them. And I started a company doing that. But then once again, bad things struck. So I didn't know my business partner as well as I should have. And then he ended up taking advantage of me, clearing out the bank accounts. And then, so kind of got screwed there. So that was the second failure in a row, one after another. So that really hit me pretty hard. After that, I took a break for a little while. And then I traveled Europe. Like I went to 35 countries over the next 2 years. I didn't really do too much business stuff. I had all my passive income from my real estate company going on, so I was fine with that. And then after that, fast forward, I moved here to Europe, and then I started my archery company, and now we're here today.
Here we are, man. So you've been around the block a little bit.
Yeah.
You have a lot of experience behind you. It sounds like a lot of success and some failure, because that's necessary for everyone too, right?
Yep.
What did you learn from, I guess, the failures, and what have you learned from your success? That is like universal just to business in general.
Yeah. So what I learned from my failures was to not doubt myself and my capabilities, know my worth, even though what I'm doing, what I'm working on, the business I'm working on is failing. Know that I'm not a failure, right?
Nice.
So know that your skills, what you do are very valuable. You're trying as hard as you can. You just might not be in the right market fit or product market fit at the time. And it takes a little while to start identifying that, right? So your failure is what makes you, who you are. So all those failures I really appreciate because they're learning experiences. Cost me a lot of money, but now I value that a lot. all that heartache and hardship that I went through. Now, whenever I start new ventures or I'm doing new companies, I have that experience behind me to know like, hey, I should really vet my business partners, or I should really start foreshadowing the past and also looking into the future with how the market's going. Is this a good idea in the future, X, Y, and Z? So, yeah.
That's awesome.
And success now is kind of short-lived. I am like a grinder. I'm a hustler. So like whenever I get like really good success, I just like kind of pat myself on the back and then I just keep going. You know, I don't let my ego really get in the way of that, right?
Awesome.
So I've had to do a lot of like self-development on that too, you know? So like whenever you start getting success, you know, then you start getting on a high pedestal, and that's bad, you know, because then you'll start making mistakes and thinking you're way better than you are. So
yeah, you got to be just as careful, right?
Yes.
With your ego and pride and everything.
Yeah. And also like, it's like when you're doing really well and you're doing very successful, I'm always thinking, all right, when is that left field going to come out of nowhere? You know, like when am I going to get hit with a bat? I'm really skeptical.
You've had that happen in the past, and it's going to happen, right?
Exactly.
Like, times change.
Before I didn't know about it, right? I wasn't thinking, everything's going to go good forever, right? But now I'm like, I'm prepared for when something does hit, I'm ready for it. And it doesn't hurt me as bad as it did back then.
Sure. That's awesome. Man, I feel like I've heard of so many people, like what happened with you, with your business partner. Like that's happened to a lot of people. Have you experienced that? And like, how do you make sure you do find the right business partner? Like if there's someone watching this that is considering, you know, going into business with someone, what's important to know about that person? And also Justin Studebaker was a guest on here a couple episodes ago, and he does Working Genius. I don't know if you've talked with him.
I've actually done a session with him.
Oh, nice.
With me and my archery team with Working Genius. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess compare, or tell me what that would have been like if you had Working Genius back then when you made that mistake of maybe choosing the wrong partner.
Yeah. So Working Genius is a great program, but Working Genius is for whenever you ever already have those business partners in place. So once you have the business partners, then to do a developmental course like the Working Genius is a great option to do. But before that is really just a lot of vetting. So at the time, you know, if I got along with the person, you know, we got along well, then I was like, all right, let's go do business together, right? And that is not what you should do.
Yeah.
You know, I started business with my friends, you know, instead of probably would never do that route again. Don't start businesses with friends or family. I would advise against that, you know?
Yeah.
So, and like steps nowadays that I do is I go and I meet the person. I'll go meet for coffee, meet for dinner, talk about, see if our personality types are the same, have them take a personality type, see our strengths, our weaknesses together. You know, I'll ask them a bunch of interview questions, you know. Mostly I focus on like failures. I don't focus on successes too much because how I really gauge somebody nowadays is like what they've been through, how they navigated that situation, and like how their mentality was for it. You know, did they crawl away? How did they navigate through it? What did they do? What systems did they put in place? You know, like, oh, they're closing down a company. How'd they do that? Like, how did they know when it was closing? You know, and also I'll ask for references. You know, I'll go ask other people about this person. Hey, what do you think about this person? You know, like, do you feel X, Y, and Z about this person? And also background checks. So I do those now, and everybody I work with now, I do a full background check and I find out everything about them just for myself, you know, so that I know what because once you get into a business partnership, it's much like a marriage, you know, in some instances, I would even say like it's a little bit more than a marriage because there's so much more involved with it. You're going to be with this person for a very long time, and it can get ugly, you know, really fast too. So.
And it's your livelihood. On
exactly.
the line, right?
Which will affect all the pillars in life, you know, not just the business, but it'll start affecting your family, relationships, social life, all that. So if they have a bad reputation, that starts going on you as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, true. Awesome. Well, so we were talking offline about how you've got BowCraft, which by the way is a great name. And I love the logo you landed on. I remember when you had a few different options on Facebook.
Yeah, I was crowdsourcing
things. Yeah,
I let the crowd pick the company brand basically, you know, because that's what it's for. That's why it's
Right.
there. So let the people choose what they want. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I love that. But you're kind of stepping away from that now. Like you said, you have a team in place. What's next? What's next with BowCraft, but also with what you're moving on to?
Yeah, so I grew the archery company in about 13 months from nothing to now right at about six-figure company. And I'm trying to continue to develop and grow. And I feel like staying in the archery company right now is just going to kind of cap my leadership abilities and growth as a CEO. And my ultimate goal in the next 10 to 15 years is to be a CEO for a Fortune 500 company. And to get there, I need to move on from the archery company. So I do love everything I've done with the archery company. It's amazing. I've helped so many customers. I think I'm at like 10,000 now, like 10,000 customers I've had getting them into the sport of archery. But now I'm venturing into a new venture in the climate technology space where I'm focusing on renewable energy, renewable power, like hydrogen power, and also fighting climate change in California with wildfires.
Right.
So like right now with Maui that just kind of burned down, it's like the heat of the fire. Climate change is only getting worse. And specifically here in California, it's a very hot market and there's very few solutions.
Yeah.
And the government and cities and states are putting hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars into it. And there's not a lot of technology out there in the space. So I recently accepted a VP of marketing position into this company called No-Wildfire. And the CEO was also on my board of advisors for my archery company. So, and he's going to be retiring soon, and I'm going to be rolling into a CEO position. And so he's training me and mentoring me to be that CEO that I need to be for the future.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a big new challenge. Is that daunting at all for you? I mean, you've done a lot, you've had a lot of success, but I guess what does anything intimidate you about it, and like what excites you about that?
Yeah.
This new opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not really driven by, like, a lot of people are driven by money, but I'm not really driven by money. I'm more so driven by like conquest.
Yeah.
So I like to go out into the unknown, like starting an archery company. I've never done that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a recreational shooter, right? But no idea the business realm and aspect of that, right? So I went out and did that, the trucking company, the real estate company. I also did some side hustles like real estate tax appeals. Had no idea how to do it. You know, went out, bought books, started talking to experts, and I learned. So the same thing in this space. Right now I'm getting questioned by a lot of people like, oh, do you have a degree in this, X, Y, and Z? I'm like, no, I don't. You know,
Learn
but
by
I'm
experience.
I know. I'm jumping feet forward in there. I'm going out. I'm meeting partners that are experts in their field. So just because you don't have a degree in it or the knowledge doesn't mean you can't go start a company. So like what we're doing is we're recruiting fire chiefs. We're out there recruiting retired fire chiefs to advise the company. They have 30, 40 years subject matter expertise, right? We don't have that, but they do. We can leverage their knowledge, and we're building a business and company around it to provide solutions to fight real things that are going on to save lives. So that's kind of like the impact that we're doing. And yeah, just because I don't have knowledge in it doesn't mean I can't find people that do. So that's what I do. So I'm out there recruiting, finding key advisors to put into the company so we can leverage that experience.
Nice. What would be the like your dream company to be the CEO of someday?
Man.
Or does it exist?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. You know, like my trajectory has been really just sporadic, and it's kind of like I just choose like whatever feels like really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I feel like after this venture with this wildfire climate technology space, I'm going to go and do something completely 180 from it that I have no idea anything about, right?
Sure.
Because the more skills that you develop, right, and the more that you go out there in an unknown space and develop yourself, the better, the more talent you're going to provide in the marketplace in the future.
Yeah, the more industries you can get to know and see their unique challenges. I feel like, you know, that's a really good trait to have, that you want to always challenge yourself and find something new.
Yeah. So I can probably think it's going to be something that has a real impact in the world, you know? So I do a lot of like impact investing with my time. So I go out and I help like a lot of nonprofits to try to go and provide real change, right? And I'm not motivated by money, but more so conquest, like getting there, like going and accomplishing X, Y, and Z and the impacts that it has for the community or for whatever cause it's for. So that's what I can see myself rolling into.
Yeah.
So,
well, it seems like the best attitude to have as a CEO,
yeah,
as a leader. So that's awesome. What are some good like resources for? You mentioned there was a book that had an impact on you, or who are some people that have really been a big mentor, directly, indirectly, whether you read their book or whatever?
Yeah. So one of my favorite books that I like to recommend to everybody, well, two basic books that I read every single year, every January. Yeah. It's like a ritual that I do. Okay. And one of the books is Richest Man in Babylon. Okay. So, which is a really, really great book. It has a lot of good principles in there to install in your life and to kind of create a blueprint around. And then the other book is The Alchemist, which is a really great story about life and not knowing where you're going and like where it can take you, and then like how to reach like your true happiness. So I love those two books, so Richest Man in Babylon and also The Alchemist. And then one of my favorite influential speakers that I listen to every single day, I was listening on the way here, is Jim Rohn. So he has so many great speeches out there. Huh? Yeah, so he was really big in the 1990s, early 2000s, 1980s. So very, very smart man, had a great mentor, and I just love everything he puts out. I'd recommend anyone go and listen to a couple hours of what he has to say. Change your life.
Awesome. Nice. Who is Jim Rohn's mentor? Do you know?
So I don't remember his name, but if you go and watch the podcast, listen to the podcast, he mentions them pretty often. So, but his story was basically he was 25 and everything in life was going bad for him. And then what he found out was just to change the mindset. And once his mentor taught him about that mindset, he changed it. And then he was on his way to 7-8 figures within 10 years. Right. So,
what's like a little nugget you can give us about mindset? What's your mindset every day?
Yeah,
you can summarize.
My mindset is to, act your age. So a lot of people always are like, you should like live life to the happiness and act your age. Like, don't try to be like super mature. Oh, you're 25, but people say like you're acting like you're 40, or I don't know. Just cut that out. I was going good for a while.
I know where you're going with it.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be humble either way. You don't want to act all immature, right? But you also can't act like, if you're a 25-year-old acting like you're 50 and acting like you got things together,
Some good advice that I would have, like based on me, like my mindset, my mentality, like my personal mindset, is that much of my 20s I've sacrificed. So I've sacrificed a lot of things to get to where I am today. I've sacrificed, like having a relationship, going out and having kids, building a family, but I made that sacrifice, and I wouldn't suggest everybody do that. Now I'm 27, I'm almost 30 now, and I really want to start a family, and I'm starting to really hinder back my entrepreneurship wise. I'm starting to think a lot smarter about the time and effort that it goes into building a new company. And now kind of my mindset has changed a little bit to where I am trying to maximize my time in the positions that I'm an expert at. And I'm not trying to venture out into too many things that I don't really know about because of the time commitments that it has, the months, the years that it's going to take to become an expert in those fields. And just finding where your time has the most impact and then going after that. So
awesome. Man, you're only 27. That's crazy. Yeah, I would have thought you're older. I mean, I'm 31, but
yeah, a lot of people think I'm like 32, 34, you know, like with all the stuff that I've done, but I've
done
just
a lot,
been hustling.
man. Yeah, it's great. And like, yeah, you still have the time to start a family if that's what you want to do. Yeah, you're still young. You're still 27, you know, so that's cool. Well, yeah, it's been about a half hour. That's about it. Unless you got anything else to share, I'll let you plug where people can find you. You know, you on social media, wherever. Where can they find BowCraft? Where can they find David Webb on the interwebs?
So my LinkedIn profile is David Webb on LinkedIn. I've been posting a lot on there, a lot of good nuggets. And then our archery company is BowCraft Archery across all social media channels, bowcraftarchery.com. And then my new venture with the wildfire space is No-Wildfire.com. So where we're combating climate change and saving lives.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to where you're going and what you're doing. It's pretty exciting. Ever since I met you just a year or two ago. So yeah, that's David Webb, everyone. Give him a follow. Follow BowCraft and everything he's doing. So thanks for coming out here. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.